Welcome to the Simple Sophisticate podcast, where intelligent living is paired with signature style. I'm your host, Shannon Ables. And whether you're listening on your commute, exercising, working in the garden, or sitting down with a hot cup of tea or a cafe au lait, thank you for tuning in. Let's get started. Welcome to the 231st episode of the Simple Sophisticate. Today's episode is entirely inspired by a new book that came out by Fran Hauser, The Myth of the Nice Girl. And we're going to break down the aha moments I had as I read this book, and also items that I felt spoke to what I had been receiving emails about from you guys, listeners and readers, as well as comments you guys have made that just when I saw or read something in the book that spoke to that, I wanted to include it in today's episode. So we're going to get into the nuts and the bolts of the book. But before I get into that, today's petit plaisir is truly a treat. I'm just going to leave it there. It's worth your time to wait and listen and see what that's all about, but also to enjoy what this petit plaisir is. Oh, I sure did. And oh my goodness, I'm so glad I took the time. Anyway, that's at the end of today's episode. But to kick off today's topic, I want to begin with a quote. This quote was actually at the end of the book. This is not giving anything away, but this is a quote from Fran Hauser, the author of the book, The Myth of the Nice Girl, Achieving a Career You Love Without Becoming a Person You Hate. She states, just by being a strong and kind, ambitious and likable, empathetic and decisive, confident and flexible woman, you can help turn around the double standards we all face and permanently change the way women at work are perceived. And I think that quote sets the tone for what we're going to talk about today. We have the power, women, but also anyone who feels their niceness is something they have to hide or to mute. And by doing so, we change the environment. We change what's acceptable. We show people what can be done and change the perception of nice as a negative. So let's get right into it. Authenticity is really at the heart of what she's talking about. And authenticity is crucial for success, long-term success. But for some reason, those of us who embody a propensity to be nice, both women and yes, men too, have often been made to feel that nice won't help us reach the success in our careers that could be possible, especially with the double standards often placed upon women who do dare to step out of the nice box. Society would like us to think that being nice won't work, but actually being gruff, if that is not our natural nature, won't either. For women, as we know, they often get pushed back. They often have that double standard held against them. So what is then the best approach for building a career you love? It is simply to be yourself. Be that nice individual you have always been. But let go of the fickleness. Let go of the passive aggressiveness and become more confident in what you know to be true about your strengths. Set clear boundaries, all the while building positive relationships with others, and remembering the research done by Fast Company in 2015, that a positive work environment leads to greater productivity, lower turnover, and even better health outcomes for workers. So it's a win-win for not only you, but the company you work for. After reading Fran Hauser's new book, I wanted to share 13 takeaways that I mentioned earlier at the top of this episode. Spoke to me, but also caught my eye due to emails and comments that I have received from you guys. While I have boiled them down to their basics, to their nuts and bolts, if this topic is speaking to you as it has me, which is why I picked the book up, be sure to pick this book up. It is a good book full of research, full of her own anecdotes, personal experience as she's worked through her career. She is someone who has been very successful as a media executive, a startup investor, and has worked for Time Inc.'s People, InStyle, and Entertainment Weekly, as well as AOL and MoviePhone. So she has been in the field of all sorts of hierarchies and double standards and worked her way through being nice and learned how to do it. She also brings in other individuals' stories as well. Along with those examples, she brings in specific pointers and tips for navigating, remaining nice as well as strong in the workplace. So let's get right into these 13 things that I picked up. Number 1 is understand the difference between nice and being a people pleaser. She breaks this down very specifically, but simply put, she states nice is being positive yet honest and straightforward, and being a people pleaser is sweeping things under the rug to avoid making waves. In other words, nice is someone who has a backbone, who stands up for themselves, who has clear boundaries, but at the same time is not aggressive, isn't gruff, doesn't feel that they have to be negative or mean or scary in order to hold their position of power or whatever power they have, their position at the workplace. Being a people pleaser is someone who can be pushed around and simply just goes where they need to go to keep the peace. But keeping the peace doesn't always, as we know, make for a productive and enjoyable place to work. So that's number 1. Number 2 is remember to be strong as well as nice. Hauser argues that indeed we can be both, even though the myth is perpetuated that we cannot. How? Hauser suggests that we speak up, but be humble. Be a team player, but still look out for our best interest. And accommodate, but communicate clearly and be assertive. That is the balance, right? And it's a constantly moving entity because we're navigating new situations all the time. But if we can keep those entities in mind, those balancing concepts in mind, then we can be both. And I think, and she talks about this as well, the key to being able to do this is having clarity about your position, about your boundaries, about what you know you can do and what your strengths are. That's number 2. Number 3, understand there are enough opportunities for everyone and refrain from competing with others, especially other women. A necessary shift from generations past is moving beyond women competing with other women, as though there was only one that could make it to the top. Historically, due to gender biases and stereotypes, this was sadly accepted and perpetuated. But times have and are continuing to change. And I think, case in point, I've seen it a lot just in the last 9 years that I've been blogging. There's so much camaraderie and working together and furthering their careers together. Careers that we didn't even know could be careers, but I see a lot more positive networking. And I think that is a huge sign that things are shifting. And I'm just talking about one, obviously, sector of the economy, but there are so many other careers where changes have happened. Doesn't mean we've fixed it or that it's where it needs to be, but we've definitely been making progress. And I think for me, and I think for many other instances where we've seen the change, we've recognized that being collaborative, being generous, and by doing those things, we can actually lift everyone up who is contributing great work to the project or to the team or to the business or to the company. All of us can rise, and all of us do rise. The key is to understand that, so that we are not thinking, okay, I have to be this person and that person. I think competitiveness is good when it's becoming better than who we individually were yesterday, but when we are perpetually trying to beat out someone else. And I struggle with this because as someone who played sports throughout our entire childhood and in college, you do have to be competitive. You have to have that mindset that I'm going to go out there and be my best. But I think there's a tricky, slippery slope when we get into competitions and we think the other side is the enemy. The other side doesn't have to be the enemy. They can make us better and we can make them better. And that's what makes a great match. So something to keep in mind. When we realize that opportunities are in abundance, when we shift the work culture and mentality, productivity rises. Studies have shown this, as does the peace of mind in the workplace. How? By having confidence that we have something of value to offer and that we can benefit from the talents of others as well. So that's number 3. Shift our focus and with regards to how we want to work with other people and how we view the contributions of others as opportunity, not as something that's going to hurt our rise or our career trajectory. All right, number 4 is claim your niceness and use it intentionally. I like how Hauser talks about claiming niceness and owning it really as an authentically nice person. To go against your nature will not only gradually deplete you, suck your energies down, but it will also feel unnatural and uncomfortable. And when you're not doing or being yourself, you can't be at your best. So when we choose to use our niceness intentionally, it can appear in how we build relationships with those we work with. And as a result, clients and colleagues show more loyalty as they appreciate the sincere connection and recognition of them individually through our eyes and how we've treated them. So that's number 4. Number 5, you may have to clarify that your niceness is not to be misunderstood for ignorance, lack of knowledge. In other words, as a weakness. Now, Hauser has some great examples of how to get across that that's the case, that you may be nice, but you're not stupid, is what one of her individuals states very, very much to that statement exactly, actually. Now, you don't have to be that abrupt if that's not your style, but maybe it is your style. But this is the thing. I think once we respond to anyone who may be doubtful of us because we're being nice and they don't think we can be as productive, once we demonstrate that don't mistake my niceness for a weakness, then we'll have to address it less often because we'll be demonstrating it through our work. I think that's the key. We create the reputation for ourselves. And so if we just have to share with 1 or 2 people that, nope, I can be nice, watch this, we can work together, I can work with others, and we can still be productive, then you're modeling it, but every once in a while you might have to say it. And that is something we need to become more comfortable with. I think that's part of it as well. So that's number 5. Now, I have many more takeaways from the book, and I will get to those in a moment, but I have 2 sponsors I want to introduce you to. As someone who loves to cook, having a helping hand to prepare the meals during a busy week is welcomed. That's where HelloFresh comes in. There are 3 plans to choose from: classic, veggie, or family, and I have chosen the classic version, which is tailored for 2 to 4 people, and you also get to choose how many meals you want that week, which is also between 2 and 4. They will then send enough ingredients for the number of people you have selected to enjoy the meal, and HelloFresh has thought of everything as each box is made up of fresh, responsibly obtained ingredients from carefully selected farms and high-rated trusted sources. Whether you are a beginner or a pro in their home kitchen, you will feel confident when cooking HelloFresh as they provide simple recipes outlined in pictures, step-by-step instruction cards. All the ingredients come pre-measured in handy labeled meal kits, so you know which ingredients go with which recipe. And I can attest each recipe will only take you 30 minutes or less. I had another opportunity to have 3 of the meals delivered to my door. And one of the things that I love is that I am also learning something new, learning a new recipe, learning a new skill, whether it's their apricot chicken or Thai and honey pork chops. I am learning how to make different sauces, which increases my know-how in the kitchen as well. HelloFresh makes their delivery service tailored to you and your schedule, as you can select the day of the week you want it to arrive and change as needed. Arriving right to your door in a recyclable, insulated packaging. Eat well, live well. The total cost is pretty awesome as well. And as a Simple Sophisticate listener, the price is even better. For a total of $60 off, that's $20 off your first 3 boxes. It's like receiving 6 meals free. Visit HelloFresh.com/Sophisticate60 and enter Sophisticate60. Visit HelloFresh.com/Sophisticate60 and enter Sophisticate60 for a total of $60 off. Visit today's show notes for a direct link and all the details. We are also sponsored today by Neat. If you are someone who is looking to get their finances in order, or perhaps you are a small business owner or entrepreneur like myself, the Neat company may just be the cloud storage intuitive financial organizational solution you've been looking for. Neat streamlines accounting and tax-related workflows, giving time back to small businesses so they can get to what matters most. Be assured you will never lose an expense, as it enables you to capture receipts quickly and easily from either a snap of a photo with your phone, uploading a doc on your computer, or even scanning them. You will also be able to maximize your IRS deductions and rest easy, as your taxes will be IRS audit proof. The Neat Company is a low-cost financial management solution that will improve not only your productivity, but make tax prep easier, save you time, and ease your mind. As a Simple Sophisticate listener, Neat is offering a 30-day free trial. Visit neat.com/simple. Again, to take advantage of a 30-day free trial, visit neat.com/simple. Now to number 6. This is simple in theory, but I think it's something we have to make sure we actually do in practice. And that's be humble, but don't put yourself down. Returning to this topic of being nice versus being a people pleaser, when we are humble and don't take ourselves too seriously, we come across as more relatable. This is a good thing. We want to relate to people. We want to build those relationships. This doesn't mean, though, that we should diminish our successes or our strengths. In other words, never talk about yourself in a way that degrades your competence or paints a negative picture in anyone's eyes. When you begin to do that, when you begin to talk negatively about yourself, you create potential doubt in clients and colleagues and higher-ups who oversee your job. So know the difference between being humble and being negative, thinking that you're trying to be more self-deprecating, but really when you self-deprecate, you actually are talking negatively about yourself. And in a work environment, that's not the energy you want to put off about the product or the productivity or the style of work that you're going to contribute. So that's number 6. Number 7, speak with confidence. There's a lot of different tips we can take away from this. And I've actually done an episode on speaking with regards to the words we use, the tone we use, things like that. And I'll provide a link to that. But she dives into this as well, Francophiles. She talks about the need for us to refrain from prefacing what we are about to share by casting doubt on what we haven't even spoken about. Instead, choosing our words carefully is imperative. Hauser gives the example of by stating that we need to speak declaratively rather than interrogatively. And what we mean by that is state something matter-of-factly, keep your tone down, don't end your sentences on an up note as though you're asking a question. In other words, state your sentences as though you were stating a fact. When you do end a sentence with a questioning tone and it's not a question you're asking, this projects lack of confidence. So instead, state it with confidence what you have found to work, to be true, or an idea that you would like to share. This is going to instill confidence in the listener about what you're sharing. But also, whatever it is you're sharing, give credit to those who deserve it if you came to this idea with the help of others. And if necessary, state your reasons for why you feel your idea would be helpful to more than just yourself. When you frame what you say constructively, speak with confidence and refrain from prefacing with doubtful statements such as I believe or I could be wrong. And when you do that, you're already on your way to gaining the trust from your peers and supervisors that you're seeking. So that's number 7, speak with confidence. Number 7, apply critical thinking skills to tactful disagreement. Part of being nice but not being a people pleaser is being able to say no, being able to disagree. All right, those are 2 different things, but they're also 2 things that often people pleasers or people who are nice but aren't very strong have a difficulty with. And it's not easy even for those who are good at this stuff. It's just it's a skill we need to learn. So if you disagree with someone's initial statement, instead of stating your opinion forthwith, immediately, without thinking, ask questions, seek out outside perspectives, and dive deeper into the subject at hand before jumping to conclusions. When we do all of these things, we step away from any initial emotional reaction and give ourselves time to thoughtfully respond and perhaps gain some more understanding and respect from the listener or the speaker, the initial speaker, I should say, due to the process we took to get to our points or to get to the deeper understanding between the 2 of us. So again, respond, don't react, and bring in outside information beyond just your own opinion. Number 9, set emotional boundaries to weed out the bullies and build stronger relationships. I want to share a quote to begin this point from the book. She states, "Often we nice girls carry around a tiny seed of doubt that a conflict is somehow our fault. When a bully spots that doubt, he or she will be very likely to prey on it." End quote. When I read this particular section about dealing with bullies in the workplace, and then I read this quote, I took a big sigh. For some reason, even after many years as an adult and even in my youth, this was a tremendous aha for me. This particular section is helpful for navigating situations in which a colleague bullies intentionally or unintentionally because they are not clear about our boundaries, and also helps us, as she writes, and also teaches us how to effectively deal with either situation. From the get-go, it begins with setting clear emotional boundaries outside of yourself. Begin by seeking out allies at work that you trust, and then remember not to be sucked into the drama that is created by the bully, either intentionally or unintentionally. Now, when the bully does do something, speaks to you in a degrading way, doesn't respect you as a professional, things like that, the most effective thing to do, and also I would argue sometimes the hardest, but the benefits could be huge, is to confront the behavior head on. After perhaps you've taken a deep breath, but don't wait too long. Don't react, definitely don't react, but respond thoughtfully, understanding why you are responding, speak calmly and clearly. Sometimes this is an opportunity to strengthen a relationship based on maybe a misunderstanding. You guys have the conversation, you work it out, and you guys grow as colleagues or as boss and underling, whatever it may be. But if it was done intentionally, then you've set that boundary for them. They now know it, and you have demonstrated you're not going to put up with it. But at the same time, you can document it. You can speak factually, write it down. If you need to, give it to a supervisor. The key is to let people know that you may be nice, but you're not weak, and you will not tolerate that behavior. And again, I'm going to remind you to document the facts, not your emotions, although you're going to be feeling them. You're going to be feeling them. And that's why you need to be aware that those are your emotions. You need to honor them, respect them, but don't act rash or react. Be responsible, be measured, perhaps talk to someone you do trust. This is where your allies will come in, and they can maybe calm you down, walk you through it. Maybe they can share information with you that you did not know about that person, that you had no reason to know before that particular incident. So that's number 9. Number 10 is to negotiate effectively by playing to your strengths. When you marry reason and emotion, specifically empathy is what Hauser talks about, studies have shown that you are more likely to be successful as a woman receiving the wage, the contract, the fill-in-the-blank item that you are seeking. When it comes to reason, let's talk about both of them. We'll first talk about reason. Understand your value. In other words, what skills, expertise, etc. do you bring to the table, and how valuable is your time? Also, do your homework and have the data ready to demonstrate what you want those who you are speaking to recognize about why you deserve this raise or why you deserve this contract, so on and so forth. As well, be aware of all the other options for improving what it is they are going to offer you. For example, not look beyond just your salary. Look to stock options, look to bonuses, look to schedules, look to your vacation time, look to other bonuses such as memberships to different entities, such as gyms. Maybe even ask about a 4-day work week during the slower part of the year for your particular company or business. Be aware of all those details that are negotiable. On the emotional side, being nice has its benefits, and this is one. Most likely, you are very observant. And observant of others and what makes them happy, what makes them upset, and the best times of day to talk to them, etc. I can remember a principal that I used to work for, and it was early on in my career. But I remember I was going to go talk to him one time, and the vice principal told me, you know what, you might want to wait to talk to him in the afternoon. He's not a morning person. That was the first time I ever really thought about, that's true. It's not always about me with regards to requests. There are 2 people involved here, and I need to meet them where they are going to be most receptive and are ready to consider, even just consider with an open mind what I'm suggesting. So the key really is to understand, and we know this unconsciously, but sometimes we forget it when we're heated about something, we need to talk to someone about something and get something fixed or get something done, or we're really excited about something and we want something to move forward. We need to remember that everyone is human. And if we want the best outcome, it would be best to talk with the individual or individuals at the time of day. They are more inclined, as the case with my principal, to be fully awake, but also open-minded. At the core, we need to have confidence in ourselves, to know we are worthy of asking for fair and equal pay, and to not feel bad for asking for what we know we are worth. So that's number 10. Negotiate effectively by playing to your strengths. Number 11, create filters at work. What does that mean? Basically, protect your time. You want to be most productive, so you need to be very aware of when and how you are most productive. So once you know what your priorities are at work, what your responsibilities are as well, where you are most needed and valued, and where you can contribute the most, delegate the rest to others who can do the work just as well, or filter out certain things completely. This could come in the way of requests from people. If there's certain requests that you're not going to deal with anymore, period, that's not part of your job, then those are easy no's. But if there are things that you do have to do, but you also have someone who can take care of it for you, and that is also within their job description, that is when you can say, I need to let this go and give that to someone else. So that's number 11. Number 12 is devise a schedule that elevates your productivity. I like this one. Everything's going to be dependent upon your job and what your expectations are at work. Now, part of being both nice and productive is setting clear boundaries around when you will do certain tasks and communicating this effectively to others. So perhaps it is when you will check your email during the day. Now, this is also something you have to communicate well to yourself, not just others. So make sure you do that. Or maybe it's when you will be scheduling meetings and how long those meetings will be, setting expectations there because we don't want to just let them run forever. So be clear about what is necessary to be productive and then communicate your availability clearly to others preventatively or preemptively, I guess I should say. So ahead of the request, that's usually the best. Number 13, last but not least, become comfortable with saying no to respect your productivity and schedule. Hauser calls it the skill of the kind no. And again, this is playing to the strength of someone who is nice, but it is also exhibiting the strength that is necessary to be clear about what you can and cannot do. People will inevitably ask, and that is okay. But what needs to become okay with you is saying no. So long as you do so thoughtfully and honestly, this doesn't mean you have to share every detail or any detail really about why you cannot say yes. Once you've done it, you have been respectful, and they can now seek out someone else to help them. So that's number 13. Become comfortable with saying no. So perhaps this tickled your interests as well as it did mine. I found this to be a very helpful resource. Some clear, concrete steps and ideas for the navigation of certain situations that maybe have tripped me up in the past when it comes to being strong, but also being nice and being a worrier perhaps too about conflicts if they do arise and not piling it on my shoulders unnecessarily, but also knowing how to deal with things that aren't always comfortable. So I've provided a link to the book on the show notes, the simplyluxuriouslife.com/podcast 231. If you're curious, again, that came out earlier this fall. Now, we have a petit plaisir that I cannot wait to talk to you guys about. But before I get to that, I have two sponsors I'd like to introduce you to. For years, the co-founders of Holly and Tanager searched for the perfect backpack tote to carry their items in an organized manner, with a primary focus to offer bold desire to accommodate a woman's lifestyle effortlessly day after day. Holly and Tanager handbags were born to keep up with your busy schedule while taking organization to the next level. Today, I want to talk specifically about the professional backpack tote, designed to live up to the needs of the on-the-go, in-the-know, jet-setting, trend-setting, all-around extraordinary woman. The professional backpack tote effortlessly converts from a backpack to a tote to a crossbody bag. With ample size, room for a 17-inch laptop, iPad Pro, notebook, snacks, tennis shoes, there's room for a water bottle as well as a bottle of wine or a bottle of wine. Even a yoga mat through the bottom compartment can be placed. As well, put your gym clothing in and, of course, your wallet, phone, and headphones. The design is simple and sophisticated and available in a variety of colors to suit your preferred signature style. The Professional is a backpack designed to take you from here to everywhere with luxurious style and effortless preparation with a well-organized interior and suitcase handle sleeve. In addition to the professional backpack tote, Holly & Tanager offers other extraordinary everyday handbags you don't see every day. As a listener of the Simple Sophisticate, receive 15% off your first order. Visit hollyandtanager.com/simple and use promo code SIMPLE at checkout. That's hollyandtanager.com/simple and use the promo code SIMPLE for 15% off your first order. Today's episode is also sponsored by La Mystere. Finding the perfect bra that looks good, feels comfortable, and most importantly, fits great takes time. And recently, I was introduced to La Mystere. They design beautiful lingerie that looks stylish and most importantly, feels amazing. Offering sizes A through H, they are also an accessible brand regardless of where you live or shop. Sold at the finest retailers like Bloomingdale's, Dillard's, Saks, and Lord & Taylor, where you can have a one-on-one fitting with one of their brand ambassadors. But if you are crunched for time, you can also schedule a Skype fitting with a certified bra fitter on their website at lamystere.com. As a listener of the podcast, 50 of our listeners can get a free La Mystere cosmetics bag with their purchase. Go to lamystere.com/gift, add the bag to your cart, add your other purchases, and then use promo code SIMPLE to knock the price of that bag down to zero. That's lemystere.com/gift and promo code SIMPLE. So today's petit plaisir is something that I've talked about, I think, for 2 weeks now. It's finally the petit plaisir because I wanted to watch the entire series and see for sure that I really loved it. And that was easy to determine right off the bat, but it continued all the way through. What the heck am I talking about? I'm talking about Netflix's new 4-part docuseries, Salt, Fat, Acid, and Heat, with Samin Nosrat, a cook and food writer who also wrote the book of the same name, Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat, Mastering the Elements of Good Cooking, which came out in 2017. So on October 11th, this docuseries came out. It's a 4-part series, and each episode focuses on one of the 4 components that are you just heard me rattle off there: salt, fat, acid, or heat. And in each episode, she goes to a different place. So for the first one, for Salt, she goes to Italy, where she went and lived and cooked for a while during her earlier years. And then she goes to Japan for the fat. Then she goes to Mexico for the acid. And then she comes back to where she worked at Chez Panisse and talks about heat. And she also cooks in her own kitchen in a few of the episodes, especially the last one. I have been reading a variety of reviews about the show, and critics are loving it. They are appreciative of her authentic self, back to the authentic self today, her sincere curiosity for food and for cultures, and her unpretentiousness, I guess we could say. She is Iranian born, but she is born and raised in California, and she brings that playfulness, and her passion for food is so clear. I honestly just wish there was more places that she was going to go. I hope they come up with more episodes because it was a treat to watch. Not only are you learning how to cook with these basic elements, and she's a teacher, but you also get to travel around the world. You get to have fun with her, and she gets to enjoy so many different unique foods, but also just good foods, simple foods that aren't complex, but it's just learning how things work together. And you see her enjoying her food, really enjoying it. It isn't staged so much. It feels more authentic. And here's the trailer in case you haven't already seen it.
I've spent my entire life in pursuit of flavor. I've traveled the world to explore the things that define good cooking.
Let me get some forks.
No matter where I go, the same elements make food delicious.
You're laughing and crying.
Laughing and crying. That's pretty much the story of my life.
Salt, fat, acid, and heat. Just 4 basic elements can make or break a dish. The more I travel and taste the different cuisines of the world,
Wow, muy dulces.
the more I realize that good cooking is universal.
This is my... so spicy.
Drink some beer. You okay?
Have you ever made short ribs?
Never. And this is such a good lesson. It's a flavor bomb in your mouth. It's so good. I'm just gonna live here now. Eat cheese and butter until I die.
Be thoughtful. Wow, be curious. Good cooking is within reach for everyone.
As you heard there, she enjoys herself, and I think that's part of the draw. She also speaks Italian. She spoke a little Spanish, if not more. She definitely speaks Italian very well, which adds a whole other element to a show about food and travel and the host who is at the center. So I'll provide a link to Salt, Fat, Acid, and Heat on the show notes. Also, I'll put a link on the show notes for her best-selling cookbook or book that this is inspired from. All right, guys, I hope you've enjoyed today's Petit Plaisir, where each week ideas are shared to make the everyday all the more enjoyable. Tune in at the end of each Monday's podcast where I'll recommend a book, a film, or a recipe, anything that is a simple pleasure to satiate your sophisticated taste. Thank you so much for tuning in today, you guys, and I hope you have a wonderful week. I also wanted to share very quickly that we just wrapped up the Simply Luxurious Kitchen vodcast. Our 8th episode just aired this last Saturday with the simple fall French dessert, if you're curious. But I'm excited already for season 2. And if you haven't already tuned in, everything's either on the blog or on YouTube or wherever you download your podcast. It is a video podcast, but it is available on iTunes or wherever podcasts are available. Just look for the Simply Luxurious Kitchen. All right. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in to the Simple Sophisticate podcast, where intelligent living is paired with signature style. For more ideas and inspiration throughout the week, stop by the blog, thesimplyluxuriouslife.com, or pre-order Living the Simply Luxurious Life, Making Your Everydays Extraordinary and Discovering Your Best Self, which will be released on November 13th, 2018. You can also pick up my first book, Choosing the Simply Luxurious Life, A Modern Woman's Guide, which is now available in paperback as well as ebook and audio versions on Audible, iTunes, and Amazon, or wherever ebook and audiobooks are sold. To stay caught up on the most recent episodes of the podcast, blog posts, and to receive exclusive news as well as an extra dose of inspiration to jumpstart your weekend, subscribe to the Simply Luxurious Life's weekly newsletter, which arrives in your inbox each Friday to enjoy with a hot cup of tea or a morning cup of coffee. Until next Monday, I'm your host, Shannon Ables. Bonne journée.